Welcome to the culmination of our extraordinary journey into one of history's most enduring mysteries. Over the past 3 episodes, we've explored the symbolic depths of Ravana's 10 heads, discovered fascinating variations across cultures and centuries, and critically examined controversial theories about ancient technology and genetic engineering. Today, we're going to synthesize everything we've learned and reveal the ultimate truth about what Ravana's 10 heads really represent. A truth that may be more profound and personally transformative than any single interpretation we've examined. But first, let's acknowledge the remarkable path we've traveled together. We began with a simple question about why a legendary king possessed 10 heads, and that question has led us through ancient Sanskrit texts, regional adaptations across Asia, archaeological investigations, and modern speculative theories. What we've discovered is that this seemingly straightforward mystery opens up fundamental questions about the nature of knowledge, power, human potential, and the relationship between myth and reality. The symbolic interpretations revealed Ravana as a complex figure whose 10 heads represent both his mastery of vast knowledge, the 4 Vedas and 6 Shastras, and his enslavement to destructive vices like lust, anger, pride, and greed. This duality creates a powerful paradox, a being of unprecedented intellectual capability undone by moral failings. The ancient storytellers weren't just creating an antagonist, they were crafting a profound commentary on the human condition itself. Our exploration of textual variations showed us that Ravana's story has been remarkably adaptable across cultures and centuries. From the original Valmiki Ramayana through Tamil, Buddhist, Jain, and Southeast Asian versions, each tradition has emphasized different aspects of his character and the meaning of his multiple heads. Some traditions present him with 9 heads, others with 1,000, and some show him as more sympathetic than villainous. This flexibility suggests that the specific details matter less than the underlying archetypal patterns they represent. The investigation of technological theories, while ultimately finding them unsupported by direct evidence, revealed something important about our contemporary relationship with ancient wisdom. Our tendency to seek technological explanations for mythological phenomena reflects both our current paradigm of understanding and perhaps a limitation in how we approach symbolic truth. Now, here's what I've come to understand through this deep investigation. The real secret of Ravana's 10 heads isn't found in choosing between symbolic, historical, or technological interpretations. The ultimate truth lies in recognizing that all these perspectives contribute to a multidimensional understanding of human nature and cosmic principles that transcends any single explanatory framework. Ravana's 10 heads function as what depth psychologist Carl Jung would call an archetype, a universal pattern or image that exists in the collective unconscious and appears across cultures and time periods. Archetypes aren't just ancient curiosities. They're living symbols that continue to activate profound responses in the human psyche because they represent fundamental aspects of our shared experience. The archetypal power of the 10-headed Ravana lies in its ability to simultaneously represent multiple layers of meaning. At the personal level, the heads symbolize the multiplicity of our own psychological states, our various desires, fears, capabilities, and limitations. At the social level, they represent how knowledge and power can be used for both creation and destruction. At the spiritual level, they embody the eternal struggle between dharma and adharma, between our higher and lower natures. What makes this particularly relevant to our modern world is that we're living through an unprecedented expansion of human capabilities. Artificial intelligence amplifies our cognitive abilities. Global communication networks extend our reach across the planet. Genetic engineering gives us the power to modify life itself. In many ways, we're developing capabilities that would have seemed godlike to previous generations, not unlike the powers attributed to Ravana. The question Ravana's story poses is whether we'll use these expanding capabilities with wisdom or be corrupted by them. His 10 heads represent not just ancient vices, but contemporary challenges. the arrogance that can accompany technological mastery, the greed that drives exploitation of resources and people, the anger that fuels conflict and division, the delusion that mistakes information for wisdom. Consider how relevant each of Ravana's symbolic vices remains today. Kama, lust, manifests in our culture's obsession with instant gratification and addictive technologies. Krodha, anger, appears in the polarization and rage that characterize much of our public discourse. Lobha, greed, drives unsustainable consumption and growing inequality. Mada, pride, and ahamkara, ego, fuel the narcissism and self-promotion that social media platforms seem designed to amplify. But Ravana's story also reminds us that knowledge and capability aren't inherently corrupting. His mastery of the Vedas and Shastras represents legitimate achievements in learning and understanding. His devotion to Lord Shiva shows spiritual capacity. His musical abilities demonstrate artistic sensitivity. The tragedy isn't that he possessed these qualities, but that he failed to integrate them with wisdom and moral restraint. This points to what I believe is the ultimate revelation of Ravana's 10 heads. They represent the fundamental human challenge of integrating our expanding capabilities with corresponding growth in wisdom, compassion, and ethical understanding. The heads aren't just symbols of what can go wrong. They're a map of what needs to be balanced and transcended. The progressive loss of Ravana's heads during his final battle with Rama symbolizes the process by which negative qualities can be overcome through sustained effort and divine grace. But this isn't just an ancient story. It's a template for personal transformation that remains as relevant today as it was 3,000 years ago. Each of us carries our own version of Ravana's 10 heads, the multiple aspects of our personality that can either serve our highest potential or drag us toward destruction. The key insight from the ancient storytellers is that these aspects don't need to be suppressed or eliminated, but rather understood, integrated, and ultimately transcended. The process of transformation represented by Ravana's defeat isn't about becoming perfect, but about developing the awareness and discipline to choose our higher nature over our lower impulses, especially when we possess significant power or capability. It's about learning to use knowledge in service of wisdom rather than ego, and to wield power with compassion rather than domination. So here's the practical application. How can understanding Ravana's 10 heads help you navigate your own life and challenges? Start by recognizing the multiple aspects of your own nature, your capabilities and limitations, your virtues and vices, your potential for both creation and destruction. When you find yourself in positions of knowledge or power, ask yourself, am I using these gifts in service of something greater than my own ego? Am I growing in wisdom as rapidly as I'm growing in capability? Am I considering the impact of my actions on others and on future generations? The ancient storytellers understood that the most dangerous person isn't the one who lacks knowledge or power, but the one who possesses great capabilities without corresponding wisdom and moral development. This is why Ravana, despite his learning and abilities, becomes the antagonist of the epic. But they also understood that transformation is always possible. The very fact that Ravana's story has been told and retold for millennia suggests that it serves not just as a warning, but as a guide for those who recognize similar patterns in themselves and choose a different path. The ultimate truth about Ravana's 10 heads is that they represent the eternal human journey toward integration and transcendence. They remind us that our greatest challenges often lie not in overcoming external obstacles, but in mastering the contradictions and multiplicities within ourselves. In our age of rapid technological advancement and expanding human capabilities, this ancient wisdom becomes more relevant than ever. As we develop artificial intelligence, genetic engineering, global communication networks, and other transformative technologies, we need the wisdom to use them responsibly. We need to ensure that our growth in power is matched by growth in wisdom, compassion, and ethical understanding. the story of Ravana's 10 heads offers us a timeless framework for this essential work. It reminds us that the ultimate victory isn't the defeat of external enemies, but the integration of our own internal contradictions in service of our highest potential. As we conclude this journey together, I want to thank you for joining me in this deep exploration. The mystery of Ravana's 10 heads has revealed itself to be far more than a curious detail from an ancient epic. It's a profound teaching about human nature, a guide for personal transformation, and a warning about the dangers of power without wisdom. The question isn't whether Ravana's 10 heads were literally real or purely symbolic. The question is, what will you do with the insights they offer? How will you apply this ancient wisdom to your own journey of growth and transformation? How will you ensure that your own expanding capabilities serve not just your personal ambitions, but the greater good of all beings? These are the questions that matter, and they're the questions that will determine whether the story of humanity in the 21st century becomes one of wisdom and flourishing, or follows the tragic pattern of power corrupted by ego and desire. The choice, as always, is ours to make.